How's it going, witches and warlocks and all in between? I'm the Wizard of What, and been a hot minute, hasn't it? Yeah, sorry I didn't upload for the last 2 weeks. I was at my sister's wedding, and I needed to focus my time on that. But I'm back now, and I figured for this episode of Movie Review Time, non-spoiler, I figured I'd do something a little different. Over the past weekend, 2 of the biggest movies of the year have come out. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and Lilo and Stitch. And usually each week, I have to pick and choose which movie I want to review this week. Most of the time it's pretty easy, but this week was pretty tough, so I figured, why not do both? So for this episode, it's going to be a double feature. So the first half, before commercials, is going to focus on Mission Impossible. The second half is going to focus on Lilo and Stitch. So I hope you enjoy, and let's start with Mission Impossible. We've all seen those movies where the first film is absolutely fantastic, but then gets worse and worse with every installment. You know what I mean, your Hobbits, your Jurassic Parks, your Transformers, that stuff. But Mission Impossible is surprisingly one of those films where it has the opposite effect. The movies start out not good, but then get progressively better and better with every installment. And The Final Reckoning is no exception. Kinda. A big reason for that is that they pick actors who have natural charm and charisma, like Jeremy Renner, Henry Cavill, Haley Atwell, Angela Bassett. If you've seen my Death of a Unicorn review, you know how much I really like Angela Bassett. And of course, the amazing stunts that Tom Cruise does. I mean, clinging onto the side of a building, holding onto a plane, taking off without a harness. Final Reckoning has a lot of those cool stunts. Like we've all seen the IMAX poster where it's Tom Cruise on an upside down plane, which is super cool. Like those stunts are really cool. However, there are a few things about the movie that hold me back from calling it a great film, like Fallout or Ghost Protocol. One of the biggest problems for me is that it feels like a legacy sequel. What I mean by that is that there are a lot of callbacks in this movie, and a lot of the time they feel distracting. Like Final Reckoning isn't a sequel to the first film in the same way that Beetlejuice is a sequel to the first Beetlejuice. Try saying that 10 times fast. The Mission Impossible films are a long-running franchise. I mean, the longest they've ever gone without a sequel is 6 years. So when they do a lot of these callbacks, it feels very distracting. Like there's callbacks to like the first film and surprisingly Mission Impossible 3, which is pretty surprising, I'll admit. But even so, like these callbacks are like all throughout the film and they just didn't impress me. Another big issue I do have is that the film feels way too long. And look, I get it, it's the end game of the Mission Impossible films. You gotta have a long runtime, but the problem is the pacing. There are points in the movie where you really feel the runtime and how long it is. Like for some reason, I thought the submarine part was pretty boring. I feel it went on too long. It was dark and not very nice to look at, but I could be alone on that. But those are really my big issues with the movie, and they are pretty big, but it's definitely a lot better than the first 3 films. Well, 1 and 3 at least. I still enjoyed the second one. I will say, one of the many aspects of this franchise that really surprised me was Simon Pegg as Benji. When I first saw him in the third film, I thought, oh no. This guy's just gonna be an annoying comic relief character. I mean, it's the guy from Shaun of the Dead. But then I remembered, it's the guy from Shaun of the Dead. That film does have serious moments and he acts them really well. And in this film, yeah, he is the main one making all the jokes, but when they're not funny, they're not painfully unfunny. He may be the comic relief, but he takes his job seriously. And he is really good in Final Reckoning. Again, without giving anything away, something happens to him in the movie, and he really does get his moment to shine in that film, especially towards the end. I also really like Haley Atwell in this movie. I think I like her more in Dead Reckoning, but she's my favorite of the female protagonists from Mission Impossible, mainly because she feels real. She still feels like a badass, like the other ones. She still does all these stunts and like flips and kicks and whatnot, but she can also be scared. Like during the car chase in Paris, like she still acts tough, but then when she gets hit in the car, like she's frozen in fear. And there's a lot of moments in Dead Reckoning where she feels scared. Because yeah, I'd feel scared in that situation. There isn't quite as many moments of those in Final Reckoning, but she's still very charming and likable. And of course, I should talk about Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise has had some stinkers in the past, but recently he's kind of been on a roll with Dead Reckoning and Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, Top Gun Maverick was one of my favorite films of 2022, and a lot of that is because of him. You could say whatever you want about him, but he always puts 110% into his stunts and his acting. I also really liked the villain in Final Reckoning, not the George Clooney copycat, the Entity. For those who live under a rock, Final Reckoning is part 2 of Dead Reckoning. Those two films have the same villain. And the Entity is kind of like if Ultron stayed an AI and took over the world digitally. It's my favorite villain in the franchise because of its relevancy. Everybody and their dog knows about AI and how some people in Hollywood are trying to use AI. That's why the writers and the actors went on strike in 2023. So seeing that AI is the villain in this movie feels really good because, yeah, I'm not pro AI in using movies. I never have been, never will be. So overall, this film is good, but again, not one of my favorites. So I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dora the Explorer, and if you like what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to The Wizard of What.
And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss another upload. Alright.
And now, back to our show.
Alright, one movie down, one to go. Next up we have another Disney remake. Yeah, it's time to talk about one of these again. If you've seen my review of Snow White, you'll know that I do not like most of the remakes. Some of them I do like, but most of them I find soulless. The current remake, Lilo and Stitch, it's not soulless, but it's not good. So starting off with the good stuff, Stitch is fantastic in this movie.
He's once again voiced by Chris Sanders, who voiced him in the original. I'm usually not a big fan of actors reprising their role for reboots, because a lot of the time it doesn't end very well, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that he was just as good here as he was back then.
It's like they got the animated Stitch, gave him that CGI surgery from Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and just put him in the live action film. And he is just so funny. It might be a hot take, but I think he's funnier in this film than in the original. Just a little bit though, just a tiny bit. I think a big reason is because of all the new shenanigans he gets put in. He's just a little bit funnier in the live action, in my opinion. I'll also say that the CGI on Stitch is really good. Honestly, the CGI as a whole looks very real. And as for the other title character, I will admit, at first, she wasn't really doing it for me. When I saw her performance at first, I thought, oh no, I wasn't gonna like her. But she does get better as the film goes on, and she does grow on me. I think it's after she finds Stitch that her performance is really good. Like I said, I love all the new shenanigans they get into, and they have some really nice chemistry. So by the end of the movie, I thought, okay, this is a really good performance, and she does do really well. Man, 2025 is the year of discovering new talent. I mean, first it was Miles Caton in Sinners, and now it's Maya K. Aloha in Lilo and Stitch. But unlike Miles Caton, where he starts out in a really good movie, Maya K. Aloha starts out in a not very good movie. Yeah, now let's get on to all the problems. In fact, the reason you probably clicked on this video. Okay, so the first problem, okay, it's not really a problem, it's more so just like a mixed bag, more leaning towards it being a problem. I wasn't that big of a fan of Nani. She has acted really well, honestly all the acting is pretty good, but there were a few things about her performance that didn't really sit well with me. They added something new about her wanting to become a marine biologist, like wanting to go to college, but couldn't because she needed to take care of Lilo after their parents passed away. And no, that's not really a spoiler because it was in the original. But my problem is that they made her a little too unlikable. Like, the original Nani was strict, but she was still loving and caring at the end of the day. This Nani is a little mean at times. For example, in the original, during the scene where she's trying to take Stitch out of the house, Lilo then brings up the Ohana means family. And then Nani's like, yeah, you're right. I hate it when you bring that up. Showing that she still cares for Lilo. But in this version, she plays it more like, Ohana means family, I know. That's not reality, Lilo. And it's just like, what the hell? It just made it a little harder for me to sympathize with her. I'll also say that this movie has something I call a bi-generation problem. If you don't know what bi-generation is, there's a moment in a Doctor Who special titled The Giggle, where the Doctor is about to regenerate, but instead of changing his face, he gets split into two. So now there's two doctors. So what I mean by that in this film is that, for example, the character of Bubbles, Cobra Bubbles, yeah, you remember how cool he was in the original? In this version, he bi-generates into two separate people. So Cobra in this version is just fully a CIA agent, and there's a new social worker, who, fun fact, is actually played by the original actress for Nani. So I guess that was a cool tribute, but because they split the characters in two, it divides the character's arc as well, so they only get half the character arc. Another case of that happening is with Nani. They introduce a new neighbor character in this, and she's the one who takes Lilo to go get Stitch. So because of that, we don't get as much time with Lilo and Nani together, but then there's one time where it's actually the reverse way, and they're actually combined into one character. You guys have probably heard that they removed Gantu from the movie, so instead of Gantu being the villain, now it's Jumba. And this was just a stupid move. I mean, they really did Jumba, and Peakley for that matter, really dirty in this. And he doesn't have his Russian accent. It's like Steve Harvey without his mustache. He feels naked without it. Honestly, if you wanted to cut that character and still stay true to the other characters, then just have the Galactic Federation lady be the villain. Easy peasy. She's the one who wants to get rid of Stitch. Just have her say, "You want something done right? Do it yourself." You don't have to change Jumbo's arc from the original. But then again, it's a Disney remake. When have they ever stayed true to the source material? I will say though, this movie is better than Snow White, a film where the main stars can't even advertise their film properly.
Is not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Liar! Liar! So I'm gonna give Lilo and Stitch a 5 out of 10. Disney really needs to stop at these remakes. So there you have it. 2 movie reviews, 1 video. But now we have another problem. I don't know what the question of the day should be. So you know what? I have a solution. If Lilo and Stitch can do some bi-generating, why can't I? So I'm going to split this video into 2 parts, one focusing on each movie I reviewed. If you watch those videos separately, you'll get an individual question of the day here. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this experiment. Did you like it? Do you think it worked? Should I just stick to 1 movie? Should I do more double features? Let me know, because I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'm the Wizard of What, and until next time, stay strong, my dudes.